Started. So normally we typically a lot of us say that we're here to do this to learn ourselves, and today's definitely an example of that because there are some terms on here that are definitely going to be familiar, and there are some terms that you're never going to have heard of, nor have I, and you might not hear of again. Granted, we'll still go over all of them, but this is
Mm.
just going to be a little bit of blend of all of that we're used to kind of hearing about in day-to-day life. And so what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of that lingo that comes up when you hear technology or when you see it on the news a little bit. And sometimes we take a little bit for granted our understanding of these terms and concepts, and in reality, we truly don't know what they are. And so, kind of our goal in this presentation is to offer a little bit of insight into some of this language that you hear that comes up so often in the tech sessions as well. So I'll take you through a little bit of a curated list of words and concepts that we think are pretty important in terms of using the technology. And we will definitely try our best to simplify these definitions and kind of give some context to these terms, but there are going to be some that are a little bit confusing, so you can always just take a note. And if any of that you know of that you're still a little confused on that we didn't cover, please just ask us in the breakout rooms. But to start out with, we'll go over what a VPN is. It's also called a virtual private network. And so, what this VPN does is it creates a private network from a public Wi Fi or your home Wi Fi, which makes you anonymous on the internet. So, it helps secure your online privacy so that your private information and what you're going on the internet are protected and no one can see that. And what an IP address, or what the IP stands for, is Internet Protocol. It's a string of numbers assigned to all of your devices that connect to the internet. So your iPhones, your iPads, your laptops, they all have their unique IP address to each of the devices. And so what a CPU is, now we're kind of shifting over to computer talk a little bit. That stands for Central Processing Unit. And you can think of this as like the brain of the computer. And so it takes all the instructions from the programs and the applications that you have on your computer and calculates them internally inside of the computer. And so now we're talking a little bit more still about computers. And so we're going to talk about something called the front end. And so what this is it refers to basically every part of the computer that you are seeing and that you are staring at on the screen. So it includes all websites, programs, and data that you enter into the screen. So any keyboard clicks when you type in the letter J and you see the letter J. It's basically everything that you see on your computer screen. So that's the front end. Now let's talk a little bit about the back end. So the back end you can also simplify in your mind as the confusing stuff. And this refers to all the components of the computer that we can't see. And this is really the nuts and bolts of the computer, what makes it work and what makes it function. So going a little bit more in depth into this back end talk and into the computer, into the in depths of the computer, what an HTML is. And this is a hypertext markup language. And so this is basically the standard language for documents that have a website. So this is basically the coding within the website. CSS, this is cascading style sheets. And this is the language that describes how the HTML elements should be displayed. In RAM, you hear this word a lot. People talk about this. Stands for random access memory, but this basically stores data in the computer. So it stores all of your programs and your applications. So the more RAM you have, the faster your computer will run. It'll have the ability to hold more, produce more speed. And of course, can't be a tech term talk without talking a little bit about AI, which is artificial intelligence. I'm sure a lot of us are still confused about that. I sure am. And so it's a smart machine that it simulates human intelligence. And so we know these as Siri's or an Alexa, and or now some of us ChatGPT. And so they're smart assistants that can sometimes search the web and even set alarms for you. And biometrics. When people talk about biometrics, this is used to identify someone based on their biology. For example, this would be your fingerprint, or in most cases, up to today's time, probably your face and your face ID. Cloud computing, you hear this word a lot, stored in the cloud. The cloud, it's a way of storing all of your information online. So multiple people can access it from different devices, such as yourself. You can access things on your iPad that are on your iPhone. And for example, if you place a photo in the cloud, another person can access that photo from a different device. And to be a little bit less off-putting, rather, if you put a photo up on your phone in the cloud, you'd be able to get it on your and retrieve it on your iPad. The Internet of Things. This is something I actually just learned about in a college course, if that gives anyone any reconciliation. So we're still learning about it at our age. So Internet of Things is a system that connects the devices to other applications through the internet. An example that we try and think of this as is a Google Home, which can control your lights, adjust the AC in your home, and that all has to be connected to the Wi-Fi to do that. But if it is connected to the Wi-Fi, it's a part of that Internet of Things chain, and they can all talk to each other and communicate. Cookies, this word might seem a little bit familiar of when we last went over in our webinar, but these are, again, to repeat, some text files that can identify your computer, but when you're on a website. So by enabling these and knowing your search habits, cookies can give you a more personalized internet experience. And again, this would be an example of this would be your banking website remembering who you are so you don't have to type in that username and password every single time. And also more of a conceptual idea would be to think of this as a sticky note that your computer is placing on these different websites. And when he comes back to it, the sticky note remembers that it's you on the computer. Browser cache, you hear this word clear cache a lot. And this is what a browser cache is, that it saves a website's information onto your computer. So the next time you visit the website, it just loads faster. So clearing cache is often told as a fix to different malfunctions in certain websites, and that can kind of just refresh. And clearing a cache won't delete any data. It won't delete anything that you've saved onto your computer. It's completely okay to do that sometimes. Plugins or extensions, and these are add-ons to websites and programs onto your computer. So a plugin can be used to watch a video on a website if it requires. These typically can be downloaded, no problems necessary. And an RSS feed is a really simple syndication. Simple. It's a feed is a set of text files that updates the reader on new information such as news or an article. I believe this is kind of what allows us to get the updates on our phone from our news applications and such, from what I understand. Sandbox, so this is a standalone environment that tests computer codes. So it can help protect a computer user from being hacked by scanning for a potential virus. SEO is a search optimization engine and increases the amount of viewers of a website by making it appear more frequently in a web search, as in it'll be kind of higher up on the list when we click enter into a Google search. UI, you'll hear the UI, the user interface a lot, and this is basically all the human interaction that can be done on a device onto a website. So any actions done on the keyboard, any clicks on the mouse, or anything that's displayed onto the screen, that's considered the user interface, and you control the user interface. URL, you hear this a lot. It's a uniform resource locator, and it's the address of the web page, and it can be found at the bar on the top of the screen. And essentially, that is just the website link, the name of the website. You could think of that as. Cross-platform, you'll hear this term a lot when talking about Apple versus Windows, and this is a cross-platform is a computer software that works on multiple computers. So when people say this software is cross-platform, that means that a Windows computer, a Dell computer can run this, and this is very infrequently an Apple computer could run it as well. But this just means that it can work on multiple different devices. Open source is refers to a software that is accessible to the public, so anybody can use it. I like to think of this as if a computer program created an application and essentially put that application to the world's library. So anyone can access it, anyone can go and check it out, anyone can go and contribute to it. It's a great thing. And there are a multitude of other terms that we definitely did not cover in this brief little slideshow, but if there are any, you can use www.techterms.com, and you can search up anything if you hear online or in the news that you see, and that'll give you a good idea of it as well. But we'll be able to answer also any other further questions that you may have.